Well, the Toledo Mud Hens back on the road this week. Not a far trip as Matt Melzak joins us. Hens heading down to Columbus. Before we talk about the Clippers, Matt, let's talk about what Toledo did this past week against the Louisville Bats. Showed a lot of resiliency against Louisville.
Yeah, coming from behind in a couple of games, including one in the bottom of the ninth inning to come away with a victory, showcasing a lot of strong at-bats. Some really solid pitching. It's a Louisville team that struggled out of the gate. So they did what they needed to do. If you got a team that is struggling to win games early in the year, you go and you beat them. And Toledo did just that, taking 4 out of 5 with obviously Sunday's rain out going off of the schedule. But, you go and do what you need to do to win. Only let them have that one game in the series. That's impressive to get the win and keep winning series. That's 2 in a row. They went to Omaha. They won that series 4-2. Come home, you win that series against Louisville 4-1. You do that. That's why this team was so successful last year. If you can do it again now, you got a good shot at having a good record.
You play 150 games at AAA level. A couple of wins might not mean anything, but you string together a couple of wins like that in April, that gives you a lot of momentum, a lot of belief in yourself throughout the season. I think that's why that Tuesday and Friday victories are so important.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, because those are games that, maybe at the end of the year you look back on, and if they go the other way and we let those games get away against Louisville. Maybe you don't know where Louisville's going to end up. They could end up in the basement. You might look back and go, man, we probably should have won another game against them. That's why those are important games, because you would look back on them over the course of the year and say, God, we let those get away. You know what? They didn't. They came back when they needed to and get those victories. And now you post a good number here out of the gate. You're right at the top of the division, which is where you need to be. And if you can hold that for a while, it gives you a better shot when we get down to the back end of the year. Remember, Toledo was down for a while last year, and then they went on that huge run at the end of the year. And you kind of ran out of time, right? Maybe another couple weeks into the season, maybe you catch Nashville. They couldn't do that last year because they ran out of time.
You mentioned the game Sunday against Louisville, rained out. Makeup date, it's an interesting situation where you look at the schedule and go, well, Louisville's come back to Toledo in July. They can just make the game up in July. It's not quite as simple as that.
Yeah, it really isn't, because you're kind of looking at halves almost now for the Mud Hens. The first half, second half of the season. Well, and they may still throw that game in there. However, if it does fall into the second half of the year, it would actually give Toledo an advantage because they get an extra game than other teams for win percentage should everything end up tied. That's a long way down the line. It's a lot of smarter people than you and I have to figure that out. But we'll see what they end up doing with that game, or if it just falls off the schedule, which it could happen.
And while that trip in July is before the All-Star break for AAA, the All-Star break is not the actual midpoint of the season. Yeah.
A lot of people think that. Oh, we're at the halfway point. And you'll even hear managers say that too. Well, then the second half, when we come out of the All-Star break. Well, frankly, you basically are down to a third of your season left once you're out of the All-Star break. So you play so many games before that point that it really is confusing that the All-Star break is always coincidentally close, but not as close as you think to the halfway point.
Interesting quirk to the schedules for both Major League and AAA this week as the Tigers play Cleveland. The Mud Hens play the Clippers. So the AAA and the Major League teams, the franchise is going head-to-head this week.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, actually. And you know what? Love going down to Columbus. Yeah. It's a small ballpark. We can see some home runs. Yep. We're going to, the Mud Hens have been flexing their muscle already. They're one of the top home run hitting teams at AAA. So let's see if they can keep that going. That could be a good ballpark for them.
Absolutely. Huntington has always felt a little bit like Fifth Third Field to me as well down in Columbus. Same type of setting downtown.
And maybe even a little bit smaller. But yes, the setting-wise, the way it's laid out in downtown, it has a very similar feel. Maybe it's just a little bit smaller.
Yeah, they talk to the same architectural firm, I bet. Matt Melzak from the Mud Hens, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Always a pleasure, Mark.